with the recent bans of both Law and the NES Lobby stage, both of which are really bad for this leader. Is Doffy back? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. My name is Mobby. Today we're going to be talking about Doffy ST17. This is the new reprinted leader. We're going to be talking about the whole deck here, from lowest to high, the goods and the bads, and just pretty much how it works. Make sure to like and subscribe for more duels and deck profiles. I upload every day: One Piece, Union Arena, and Dragon Ball Super Fusion World. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started really quick. A lot of proxies in this deck. I kind of messed up. I forgot to add in a little bit of one extra Dom, but that's okay. Anyway, let's talk about this leader. I was recently watching the Japanese Wave 1 tournaments, and there was like a million Rob Lucci's, a million, what are they called? Laws before they got banned. It was like hours before they did the release of the announcement before they got banned. And Doffy, there was two Doffys in it that did pretty well. So I have my own interpretation of the deck, and we'll go ahead and talk about it right now. So here it is, Doffy, OP01, but this is the reprinted art that's going to be in ST17, which comes out in a couple of months in America. I think October in America. It's already out in Japan. So 5,000 liter, 7 Warlords, Donquixote 5. Life, Dawn 2, attach. When attacking, you use 1 Dawn, so 3 Dawn total to activate this. Reveal 1 card from the top of your deck. If it's a 7 Warlord character, 4 or less, you play that card rested. Very strong card. There's a good amount of ways to manipulate the top of your deck, and the whole deck is 99% playable cards, so you're going to be able to get them out pretty easily. So, it's a pretty good leader, and let's go. Okay, so the first ones we're going to be talking about the Sen Gokus. Now, these are good for the deck for multiple reasons, and here we go. So, it comes from OP07, 1/2/1 on play. You look at the top 5, you grab 1 7 Warlords, you put it to your hand, so it could be a character or an event. So, this is really good just for the on play. You're never ever usually going to use them to attack, because honestly, in your turn 2, you're just going to go ahead and just use your ability if you have it ready. But basically, this is a card that's going to be used multiple times if you're able to use it as fodder to bounce it back to your hand, to be able to use it again or get off one of your effects in general. So it's a really good card. We are running 4 of these Sen Gokus. Next up, it's a new card from ST17. This is Buggy. This is a 2K counter. 1, 2, 2. On play, look at the top 3 and place them in any order. This is a really cheap way to look at the top 3 and rearrange it, or just use it for a 2K. Once again, anything that's really low cost can easily get rebounced to, you know, just keep in your hand or use for other abilities. So we're running 4 of these. Next up, we have a tech choice here. This is Marshall D. Teach. I saw some tournament winners running a couple of these, so I decided to run 2 as well. When it first came out, I made an ST17 video, and people are like, these cards are really dumb. They have their uses. It really does if you're able to get it early. So 2, 3, 1. Marshall D. 7 Warlord Blackbeard ST17. Activate main once per turn. Place 1 card from your hand on top of your deck. Then attach 2 Rested Dawn to one of your leaders or characters. So it sounds a little weird because you're not gaining any cards. You're just putting 1 on top so you can actually set this up. But the fact that you can use it, the turn that this guy is on the field. You can go ahead. So if you use it when you have 3 Dawn, you can 100% set it up. And you can have a character on the field for next turn, which you can also use this every single turn, and you don't have to rest this. So even if you're not gaining multiple cards, this doesn't cost anything to use, and you're getting cards from doing other stuff. So it's a good amount of setup, but you don't really need this that early. But if you can get in your starting hand, I say grab it. So we're running 2 of these Marshall D. Teaches, just because if you can get it super early, it's going to work out. All right, next up, we got our first event. We're running just 1 of these Perfume Fingers. So 7 Warlords of the Sea, Kuja Pirates from OP07. Main phase, up to 1 of your 7 Warlords type leaders or characters. Gains 2,000, then your opponent cannot activate blockers. So you primarily want to use this as a way to finish the game off. If your opponent is on the back of their heels, they have no life left, and they decide to set up 1 to 5 blockers, you use this and you go right past them all. Really good. So you might run on 1 to 2 of these. All right, next up we have our first Crocodile. So this is from OP07 452. On play, use up 1 Dawn. Return one of your 1 or 2 cost lower characters to your hand. Yeah, there you go. It's yours or your opponent's. If your opponent doesn't have any, obviously, once again, these are really good to bring it back. So there you go. And you probably don't want to bring this guy back unless you're going to fill the board up, and you know you're going to fill the board up. You bring him back in just so you have the 1k counter in your hand. But anyway, the 2ks in this deck have a lot of good use. Like, they're really good. So here's another 2k. Next up, it's Law from OP07 442, so not the best attacker, but it costs 1 less. So main, you may return this character back to your hand. So if you're able to cheat this guy out via Doffy or bringing him on the field thanks to the Jimbe card, you can return it back. Then if your opponent has 6 or more cards, they place 1 from their hand to the bottom of the deck. So it's not going to be used that often, but it's here if you need it. It's another 2k counter. Next up, it's another card that's really good in blue. It's not a 7 Warlords, though. This is a Charlotte Pudding from Big Mom, OP06, 441. On play, your opponent returns all cards from their hand to the deck. It doesn't matter if they have 0 cards, 7, 8, 10 cards. Then they draw 5. This is good for just messing with their hand. Throughout the whole game, they're going to be searching and discarding and building things that they want. So if you use this at a time that is really inconvenient, obviously if they have 6+, you're going to be netting them less cards. But even if they have 5 and you have nothing to play, you might as well do this. You might end up bricking their hand, but you also might end up making their hand much more better. So it's kind of a educated guess on when to use this, but you have to know the matchup. So this is really good. So there you go. I'm running 2 of these. All right, next up we have another Law card from ST17 451. On play, return one of your characters back to your hand. And if your leader is 7 Warlords, then you bounce back one of your opponent's characters. Or you can do your own. Now, this is interesting. You can do up to 2 characters. So if you happen to have 2 Sen Gokus, 2 of those Buggies, you can return one to return another one. So double back, boom, boom, boom. It's a really good card. Really, really good versatile card. Next, it's probably one of the best new additions to ST17. This is Hancock. 7 Warlords Kuja. 4/6/0 counter. However, it has blocker. Then on play, you look at the top 3 and rearrange. So at the moment in this deck, you could run Peronas if you want. You could also run the 3-drop Doffys that rearrange. But I feel like the 1-cost Buggies and these Hancocks are enough, especially if you are running a 99%, 99% droppable characters like here. Obviously, you can't bring down the Sen Gokus. You can't bring down those other stuff. But you're going to hit a lot of the times. But basically, this is really good. And after you rearrange, you give your leaders or characters up to 1 Rested Dawn. So you can give up to 1 Rested Dawn to him, and then you need to, use up 2 more somehow to use out the ability. So it's really good. Really good ball blocker. Okay. Next up, we have these Gecko Moras, ST03 451. On play, add 1/7 Warlord 4 or less from your trash to your hand. You can bring back the 2Ks. You can bring back just anything in general. You can bring back almost anything, which is amazing with this. Next up, it's going to be some Edward Weevil, some EBO1, 4/6/0 on play, draw a card. You're going to be cheating this out quite a lot with Jimbe or Doffy itself, so you're going to get some good value and a decent attacker for the amount of damage that it does. Next, it's another amazing ST17. I highly recommend running 4 of these because what's the best thing in Dragon? It's the same thing in Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball and One Piece. The most important thing is hand size or hand advantage, getting value, right? Either removing or gaining. So ST17 Crocodile 451 on play, reveal the top of your deck, which is 99%, or you can kind of set it up with other stuff. You can set it up with this too. Yeah. Okay, you look at it, draw 2, then you place 1 back on top, which is a setup for this again. So you gain 1, and you're going to be able to use your ability if you need to. So I'm running 4 of these, so freaking good. Next up, it's the cornerstone of the deck. Without this card, it would just be not as competitive as it is. But it's Jimbe Fisherman, 7 Warlords, Sun Pirates, OP07 451. On play up to a 1-cost 7 Warlords from your hand active. So this could use a lot of stuff. It can't bring itself out, but there's a really good amount of combos. Every single one of your 7 Warlords, 4 costs, is going to have an on play. So lots of ways to do things. Good stuff. Jimbe, if you see 1 or 2 in your hand, you might as well just stop mulliganing and take it. All right, now for our 7 costs here, we have Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger. So a lot of our deck is at high cost. A lot of, you're going to use some 4 costs and that's it. And then you're going to be attaching stuff to your characters or leaders and then attacking. This lets you do more stuff late game, or if your board is already filled, because this is a swarm deck, you have a lot of stuff, you don't want to summon more, you might as well get some value by using this. You go ahead and bottom deck 2 6 cost or less characters of your opponents. Very strong in a deck that doesn't have any sort of cost reduction. 6 or less already is good, dude. And the trigger is great. You place up to a 5 or less to the bottom of the owner's deck. So running 3 of these. And finally, your Hail Marys. If you just got late game and you don't have anything else to do, you drop a Kaido, especially if you already have like a bow on the board or something like that. So this unfortunately can't be cheated out by anything, can't be searched, but if you happen to get it, sure, why not? 10, 12, 0 on play if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, which honestly, at this point, they should, unless things went really bad. They should have at least 3 or less. You draw 4 cards, and in this deck, you have a ton of 2Ks. You have a lot of good thingies. You want to get the Jimbes out, etc. Yeah, it's really good. All right, so that is the deck. There is like some really, really good variations of this, and I recommend you guys look up more deck lists if you're serious about becoming a Doffy main. Because, yeah, like as I mentioned, there's different ways to run this. You don't have to run these teachers. You don't have to run these. A lot of people like to run the 3-drop Doffys, the Peronas, as mentioned, the 6-drop Boa Hancocks. There's some other, like, 2Ks, like 7 Warlords, like the 2K Dracul Mihawk, which on attack, you put 1 Dawn on, you draw 2, you trash 2. There's a lot of good things. But this is the way that I'm currently running it right now. And I found that, yeah, it's really good to swarm and win early game, and I used to use the 6K Boas as my late game, but then I was like, I just need something even more crazier. So it's either this Kaido or the other Kaido that bounces back. It's also a 10 drop, but either way, this is what I've been running, and I really like it. This deck gets so much value. However, I guess if you just don't have a setup for your first couple turns when you're going to use this and you miss, you might be behind a little bit, especially against some of the crazy meta decks. But otherwise, you're going to be good to go. This is amazing. So let me know what you guys think about the Doffy deck in general, because, yeah, it's starting to, become more prevalent. And with the ban of the Law and the Ennius Lobby, this character will become a little bit more consistent. And you know what? I'm totally fine with that. It loses to a lot of other, like, removal and stuff, and it contends with Rush. So I feel like this is a pretty good balanced deck that has a good contender to be meta soon. Who knows if there's going to be something crazy coming up, especially in OP10, because we're going to have Dressrosa, and they're definitely going to have more Doffy cards. Maybe more green ones, we'll see, but maybe a couple of blue ones that might go in here, but it's probably going to be the green ones. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.